When Elon Musk stepped into that tiny coffee shop in downtown Palo Alto, California, no one expected what would happen next. It started as a simple moment of respite. A quick stop to grab a latte, as he often did between meetings. But this interaction would set off a chain of events that would inspire a generation and change the course of a young engineer's life forever. The city was buzzing with energy, the usual hum of startups, tech enthusiasts, and entrepreneurs blending into the backdrop. But inside the small cafe it was quieter. The clink of cups, the soft hum of conversations. It felt like a safe haven amidst the chaotic world of Silicon Valley. At a corner table sat Jamie, a young software developer, absorbed in his laptop. His eyes were tired from long nights spent debugging code, his dreams of landing a big break hanging on the edge of every line of text he typed. He wasn't famous. He wasn't even close to being successful in the eyes of the industry. But he was determined. Jamie had always been fascinated by technology. Growing up in a small town, he didn't have access to the sprawling tech scene that thrived on the West Coast, but he was relentless in his pursuit of understanding how things worked. As a kid, he spent hours taking apart old radios and computers, trying to figure out their innards, and painstakingly reassembling them just to see if he could make them work again. After graduating with a degree in computer science from a state school, Jamie packed his bags and moved to Silicon Valley. The bright lights, the chance to work for industry giants, and the allure of contributing to revolutionary projects. Everything he had dreamed of was finally within reach. But the reality of Silicon Valley was different than Jamie had expected. The dream of tech stardom felt distant, and he found himself in a world dominated by more experienced developers with impressive resumes. The struggle to find a job was real, and the frustration of rejection was something he felt every day. Yet Jamie refused to give up. He took on freelance work, built personal projects, and attended every networking event he could find. It was during one of these networking events that he first heard the name Elon Musk. Musk's name had become synonymous with groundbreaking innovation. The founder of companies like PayPal, Tesla, and SpaceX, Musk had quickly earned a reputation as a visionary with the ambition to change the world. For Jamie, Musk represented the pinnacle of success, someone who had not only found success but had done so by pursuing bold, seemingly impossible goals. Jamie spent hours watching interviews with Musk, reading articles about Tesla's electric cars and SpaceX's rocket launches, and even trying to follow in Musk's footsteps by thinking outside the box and considering the impact of his work on humanity. But even as he admired Musk, Jamie couldn't help but feel that the gap between them was insurmountable. On that fateful day when Elon Musk entered the coffee shop, Jamie was unaware of the significance the encounter would have. Musk, a figure Jamie had only seen on the glossy pages of magazines and in tech blogs, was just another person to him at that moment. But that moment would change everything. As Musk ordered his coffee and sat down at a nearby table, Jamie couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. Here was the man whose vision had reshaped the tech world, sitting just feet away from him. It was surreal. For a few moments, Jamie simply watched him. There was a quiet confidence in Musk's demeanor that seemed to radiate from him. He was absorbed in his phone, likely reviewing a new development in one of his many ventures. Musk's fame had been earned through years of relentless work, and here he was, a titan of industry in a seemingly mundane moment of his day. But Jamie wasn't sure he would get another chance like this. This was his moment. Taking a deep breath, Jamie stood up, walking over to Musk's table. His palms were sweaty, his mind racing with nerves, but he was determined. This could be his one shot to speak to the person who had inspired him in ways that he could not yet fully comprehend. "Excuse me, Mr. Musk?" Jamie asked, his voice shaky but earnest. Elon looked up from his phone. His gaze was calm, measured, but there was a certain kindness in his eyes. "Yes," he replied. I just wanted to say how much your work means to me," Jamie continued, his voice gaining confidence as the words left his mouth. "I've been following Tesla and SpaceX for years. I'm actually a developer myself, trying to get into the field." He paused, feeling the weight of the moment. "I admire what you've done. You've changed the way I think about technology and its potential." Elon smiled, setting his phone down and turning his full attention to Jamie. It was an unexpected response, one that made Jamie feel heard in a way he hadn't anticipated. "Thank you. That means a lot. What are you working on right now?" Musk asked. Jamie hesitated for a moment, unsure of how much to share. "Well, I'm building an app. It's nothing big yet, just a side project. But it's my dream to make it successful, to really create something that could help people in the way you've done." Elon nodded, listening intently. "That's great. The first step is always the hardest. But I'll tell you something I've learned." Jamie leaned forward, hanging on every word. Sometimes, Elon continued, the world will tell you it's not possible. People will tell you it's too hard or that it won't work. But the secret to success is simple: you just keep going. No matter how tough it gets or how many people tell you to quit, you keep moving forward. There's always room for something new. Keep at it and you'll find your way. Jamie's heart raced as he absorbed Elon's words. They were simple but powerful. The kind of advice you would read about in motivational books, but somehow hearing it from Musk himself gave it a weight that felt profound. The belief that no idea was too big, that persistence was the key to success. Jamie could feel it resonating deeply within him. "Thank you," Jamie whispered, feeling a lump in his throat. "I will. I promise." Elon stood up, finishing his coffee. "Good luck, Jamie. And remember, no idea is too big. Just build it and the rest will follow." With that, Elon Musk walked out of the coffee shop, leaving Jamie standing there in a daze. The interaction had lasted only a few minutes, but its impact would last a lifetime. In that brief exchange, Jamie had received something invaluable. Not just advice but a belief in himself that he had never fully experienced before. In the months that followed, Jamie found himself reflecting on Elon's words daily. He poured his energy into his app, even when the odds seemed stacked against him. Launch after launch failed, bugs persisted, and he began to doubt whether he could ever make it as a developer in such a competitive industry. But every time he felt like giving up, he thought of that brief moment in the coffee shop. Elon had believed in him, and that belief gave Jamie the courage to continue despite the odds. He reminded himself that every setback was just another step toward his goal, and slowly his app began to take shape. Over the next few months, Jamie found himself on a roller coaster of emotions. Building his app was like climbing a steep mountain with no summit in sight. He would spend countless hours coding, testing, and refining, only to encounter error messages that seemed to multiply faster than he could fix them. There were days when the frustration was overwhelming, when he doubted whether he was cut out for this career at all. But there were also moments of clarity, those rare, fleeting instances when everything clicked, and Jamie saw the potential of what he was building. His app, though far from perfect, had a unique idea. It aimed to simplify the way people accessed and consumed news, presenting it in a more digestible and personalized way. He had a vision of revolutionizing the news industry, helping users avoid information overload while still staying informed. The concept was strong, but the execution? That was the hurdle. One night, after hours of staring at the screen, Jamie closed his laptop and rubbed his eyes. He felt like he was running on empty. The initial excitement that had fueled his passion seemed to be fading, replaced by the harsh reality of the grind. He had made little progress in the past week, and his bank account was running low. It was becoming harder and harder to justify his obsession with the app, especially when the bills were piling up. But then he remembered that conversation in the coffee shop. Elon Musk's words echoed in his mind, "You just keep going. No matter how tough it gets, you keep moving forward." Jamie couldn't let go of that belief. If Elon Musk, a man who had revolutionized multiple industries, could overcome such immense challenges, then surely Jamie could overcome his own. He had to keep going no matter how hard it became. The next morning, Jamie made a decision. He would push forward. If he couldn't fix the bugs today, he would fix them tomorrow. He would break the app into smaller, more manageable pieces and tackle them one by one. Step by step, he would make progress. A few weeks passed, and Jamie made incremental improvements to his app. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep him motivated. He started receiving feedback from early users, and while the response wasn't overwhelmingly positive, there was potential. Some users liked the clean interface, while others appreciated the way the app curated content. That feedback was enough to keep him going even when things seemed bleak. But no matter how many small victories Jamie had, there was always a bigger challenge lurking around the corner. One evening, after working tirelessly for weeks to refine the app, disaster struck. The app, which had been running smoothly in beta testing, suddenly crashed. The data was lost. All of the months of hard work seemed to vanish in an instant. Jamie couldn't believe it. He sat frozen in front of his screen, staring at the error message as if it were some cruel joke. It felt like everything was over. All of the sacrifices, all of the late nights, all of the effort, it was all gone. But then, as the shock began to wear off, Jamie remembered Elon's words again. "You keep moving forward." He had said there would be times like this. The key was to get up, dust himself off, and keep going. It wasn't easy, but Jamie had learned one thing over the past few months. Resilience was his greatest asset. He spent the next several days trying to recover the lost data. The process was painstaking, and there were moments when he felt like giving up. But finally, after what felt like an eternity, he managed to restore a large portion of the data. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. The setback had been significant, but Jamie had proven something to himself: he could bounce back. And that was a lesson he would carry with him throughout his journey. After the app was back up and running, Jamie found himself at a crossroads. The app still wasn't perfect, and he wasn't sure if it was even enough to attract investors or users. But he had a burning desire to keep pushing, to take the next step in his journey. That was when an opportunity came knocking. It was a startup pitch event, the kind Jamie had attended countless times before without much luck. But this time he had something to show. The app wasn't finished, but it was functional, and he believed in it more than ever. He had nothing to lose. So he registered for the event and made his way to the venue, his heart pounding in his chest. As he walked into the crowded room, his eyes scanned the sea of people. Entrepreneurs, investors, and startup enthusiasts filled the space, exchanging ideas and discussing the latest trends. Jamie felt like an outsider, an imposter in this world of seasoned professionals. But then, as he looked toward the stage, he saw a familiar face. It was Elon Musk speaking to a group of investors. Jamie's breath caught in his throat. His mind raced. He had to talk to Elon again, but the thought of doing so felt like an impossible dream. What could he possibly say that would make any impact? What if he made a fool of himself? But then, Jamie remembered the promise he had made to himself. The promise to keep going, to never give up. He had come this far. He couldn't turn back now. With a deep breath, Jamie pushed his fear aside and walked over to Elon. As he approached, Elon turned toward him, a faint glimmer of recognition in his eyes. "Mr. Musk," Jamie said, his voice steady but laced with excitement. "I took your advice. I didn't give up. I've got something I think you might be interested in." Elon raised an eyebrow, a small smile playing on his lips. "Ah, the app guy. Let's see it." Jamie pulled out his laptop and opened the app, walking Elon through the features and explaining the concept behind it. He had never been so passionate about anything in his life. As he spoke, he could tell that Elon was listening intently, his focus unwavering. When Jamie finished the demo, he felt a sense of pride. It wasn't perfect, but it was his. And that was enough. Elon leaned back in his chair, considering the app for a moment. "You're on the right track, Jamie," he said. "Keep pushing. You've got what it takes." Jamie's heart swelled with pride. Those words, "you've got what it takes," meant more than anything else. It was validation. It was belief. And in that moment, Jamie realized something crucial. Elon wasn't just giving him advice. He was believing in him. That belief, in turn, gave Jamie the strength to keep going no matter the obstacles ahead. Years later, Jamie's app would become a household name in Silicon Valley. It wasn't just a tool, it had become a platform that helped users navigate the overwhelming world of information. It wasn't easy, but Jamie had never forgotten the lessons he had learned along the way. He faced countless setbacks and obstacles, but each time he picked himself up and moved forward. And through it all, one thing remained constant: the memory of that brief encounter in the coffee shop, when a simple conversation with Elon Musk had changed the course of his life. Elon had given him more than just advice, he had given him belief in himself, the kind of belief that made anything possible.